What are we supposed to do? And how much time is too much time? Does it vary? So many questions for Dr. Albert Pang, and I'm so happy that he is with us today for Wellness Wednesday. Hello, doctor. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Michelle.
Well, I have to tell you, doctor, I can definitely use your help, and I know a lot of other people can use your help because so many of us spend way too much time looking at various screens. And I don't know if you heard what we were just talking about as far as, going from small to large. They're really everywhere. We have all of these different screens all over the place. So let's start off, if we can, and just talk about, with how the eyes work, how they adapt to different things that we might be looking at, because maybe that'll help us start the process of trying to figure out what we should be doing based on which screen time we're seeing most.
The bad news is, Michelle, our eye will not adapt to close-up environment. So every time when we try to read close-up or do any screen time on the computer, on your tablet or your devices, you are actually putting a lot of work to the eyes. Our eyes designed as a hunter, as a gatherer. We never designed as a reader or to work on a computer or any close-up work. So we are the only species in the planet that we are actually going against our evolution. We are not running faster, we are running slower. Our vision far away is not getting better, but actually getting worse with generation and generation down. So mainly is because of the fact that we are not following the rule of the nature, but instead we are actually going against it.
And unfortunately, as you said, the bad news is that the eyes are not adapting for what we are using them for a lot. So with that, I wish I could say, you know what, I don't need my smartphone, I don't need my iPad, I'm good to go. But you know as well as I do, doctor, that's just not the case with everybody with their jobs and schoolwork and even for entertainment and fun. That's not something that all of us are going to be able to give up. So what are some of the things that we can do to at least maybe limit some of the effects that we can see when we're straining our eyes?
Number one, we just have to make sure that we have a good working distance. Do not try to look at your phone or look at your screen too close. Maintain at least a 20-inch distance when you're looking at your laptop or your desktop computer.
Wow.
And secondly, when you are looking at your phone, I want to also make sure that you do not turn your screen brightness to fullest. I know if you have a brighter screen, you can see better. But again, the brighter the screen is, the more harsh to the eye because of all the high energy visible light on the blue light spectrum. It's actually cause a lot of irritation to the eye. I do not know whether you noticed that your smartphone now come up with a program called Night Shift. Mainly is that you're able to cut down some of the blue light that irritates your eyes. So utilize that, but make sure that you have a good working distance. The farther they are, the better it is.
So, Dr. Pang, let me ask you this, because I would think that, as you said, the brighter the screen is, the easier it is to see. So I would almost think that that would be helping my eyes out because it will be easier to see, but that is not the case. As you said, the brighter the light, that it actually can have some other effects that is going to be worse in the long run. So as bright as we need it to be able to see it in general, is that kind of where we should be going with that?
Yes, actually, I would say if you're able to tolerate, make it dimmer like 70%, 80% of the brightness level, yes.
Okay.
The reason is because, like what we talked about just now, when you look at devices screen, all the LED screen, they have a lot of what we call high energy visible blue light. In the short term, they cause dryness to the eye. But long term, they actually can cause damages to the macula because they can penetrate completely to the inside layer of the eye, called the retina, and they can cause damages to your photoreceptor.
And we don't want that. We definitely don't want that.
No, because the photoreceptor, once they damage, you cannot repair. They cannot regenerate.
So can you make us feel a little bit better, though, Dr. Pang? We're talking about this, and I say how, everybody's dealing with these issues, but just how common is it? Please tell us that we're not alone in this and that most people or a lot of people that you see in your practice and the work that you've done over the years are doing exactly what I thought I was doing right, and we're really kind of damaging our eyes in the long run.
Yeah, actually, the reports that they have from the Vision Council of America is that, unfortunately, you are not alone. That's the first thing I want to tell you. But again, at the same time, we are causing more and more damages to the eyes because they are saying that 70% of the population now is using 8-9 hours of screen time. So it is a tremendous increase in the number of hours that we're looking at those screens, big screen, small screen, we're talking about computer as well as your phone. That by itself is not a healthy phenomena because, number one, as we say earlier, our eyes are not designed to look at close-up work. Anytime we read close-up, we look at something close-up, our eyes have to convert. That means we have to use your pointing muscle to cross in order to see the screen. Secondly, our eye muscle, the focusing muscle, have to work hard in order to bring the image clear to us. And that also put a lot of strain, a lot of effort. Lastly, when we do close-up work like computer, we blink only 30% of the normal blinking rate. Normally, we blink about 15 times a minute, but when you look at the screen, you only blink about 4 or 5 times. That's why causing a lot of ocular surface diseases, a lot of dry eye to ourselves.
And that makes sense because especially if you're like I am, and I think most people probably would agree with this, you're either reading emails where you want to stay engaged as possible, or you're watching a video as the kids will be sitting with me on the couch. Not only are they watching television sometimes, but they're also watching videos on their phone while they're watching television, and they don't want to look away. They want to make sure they catch everything. So I guess subconsciously, as you said, we're keeping our eyes open more because we don't want to take those blinks because we can miss a lot in those blinks.
Yeah, and again, it's more to do with the fact that a lot of time when we are reading close up, it's a lot harder for our eyes, so we have to pay a lot more concentration and attention to the reading material. By doing that, we blink less. Especially when you talk about a younger kid, you're noticing that their eye is actually very different than what we have even 15 years ago. I've been practicing for 30 years. Now all the younger patients come in, their eye performance is definitely much worse than what we have even 15 years ago.
Wow, that really is quite shocking. We're talking with Dr. Albert Pang. Dr. Pang is an optometrist. He said he's been working in this field for a number of years and a lot of patients. And I guess the good news, if you really can say it's good, is knowing that you don't have to feel like you're alone in this. If you're doing all of the things that Dr. Pang is saying you really shouldn't be doing, it's okay, because a lot of people are doing that because they probably don't realize just how much damage we could be doing to our eyes. But the good news is we can do something about it. We can either protect our eyes from future use or at least, make them less susceptible to having the strain and hopefully any further damage by doing a few things, following a few tips that Dr. Pang was going over, and there are a lot of other things that we can do to help protect our eyes. We're going to take a quick break, but it is Wellness Wednesday, and I think this is such an important topic because our eyes are so important for so many reasons. And as Dr. Pang was saying, there are certain parts of your eye that, once you've damaged those areas, you cannot reverse that. So we really need to pay special attention to our eyes. It is Women's Eye Care Awareness, Women's Eye Care Health Awareness Month, but this is great advice for men or women. More with Dr. Albert Pang right after this. Stay tuned. More Middays straight ahead. Welcome back to Middays on this Wednesday. It is Wellness Wednesday, and very excited to have Dr. Albert Pang with us. He is talking about, unfortunately, something that affects too many people, myself included, when we are abusing our eyes in ways that we probably don't even realize. And he was giving us some great advice and talking a little bit about how our eyes are really not supposed to take on the stress that we're giving them. With so much screen time, we are always on our computers. Well, a lot of us are on our computers. I don't want to put everybody in that category, but everybody I know is always either on their laptop or on their iPad or on their phone. And basically, it's not doing us any good because there are some very serious effects that can be seen in a lot of studies where it shows people who are giving excess screen time on a daily basis to their eyes, and it can have some very bad effects. And Dr. Albert Pang was just sharing with us before we took the break about what he's seen in his 30 years of practice. The trend has been that so many people are always on their social media devices, especially with the younger generation. Intern Degeneration, you can attest to this because you have grown up in a world where you've kind of always had the computers and the smartphones and what have you. And it's just normal that you want to be on there. You want to see the videos that your friends have posted, and you want to see what's on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and all that. And it's not good that we're spending so much time. Not that we're saying never go on your phone. You just can't do it. We can't take away our computers. We can't. I can't even imagine. That's a nightmare. I don't want to think about that. But Dr. Pang is telling us why our eyes are not equipped for that, what can happen, and more importantly, giving us some tips on what we can do to hopefully avoid that stress and that strain. So, Dr. Pang, we talked about, and I think this is so interesting to point out because I look at just that, the 20-inch distance that you said, we really have to be cognizant of keeping that good working distance. And this is not just from a laptop or iPad, as you were saying. This is even our smartphones, 20 inches away from our smartphones. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. Partially it's because the more that we were able to utilize both our central vision and peripheral vision, the better is for our eyes, more relaxing. You can just imagine if you're looking at something real detailed, real close, when you hold your phone real close to your eye, say 5 inches away, you'll notice that the eye have to be, you're feeling the pulling sensation, and you have to struggle to the print. But the moment you move it further out, 16, 20 inches away, is a lot more relaxing. So, working distance, number one. And secondly, I will say technology actually help us also is because of the fact that we have a lot of optical devices, glasses nowadays, especially designed for people who work on a computer. If you have no choices, you're a programmer, or like Michelle, you are the one that do research every day, you may like to check with your eye doctor and ask them for a prescription of a computer glasses. They have a special type of coating on the surface able to reflect the glaring blue light so that you can see the computer more comfortable without the eye strain and the harsh blue light in your eye.
So that is the good news when it comes to technology, as far as at least if the technology is always there, then we can have some ways where we can master that a little better with more technology and some glasses that can help us out.
Yeah, and then also, I also want your audience to realize that one thing is the diet. They have technology now, it's called the Macular Pigment Optical Density Measurement now. It's called MPOD. What they do is actually they're measuring the density, the natural pigmentation you have inside the eye. And they were able to, again, predict how damaging the blue light from the computer, from the devices are impacting your eye. And if you have a low score, they will advise you to take certain type of supplement, nutritional supplement, or change your dietary habit to include more green leafy vegetable or colorful vegetable to increase the pigmentation in your eye. That's also another thing that you can do to help your eye.
And it really goes back to you are what you eat. And I can just think of, instantly several foods. Carrots, I always think of carrots being good for the eyes, and then other foods that we know. And they're usually fruits and vegetables and those, those healthy foods that we know we probably should be eating. And this is just even more evidence, as you said, Dr. Pang, how it's important. Our diet also affects, the ability for our eyes to do certain things. And when you think about that 20-inch, getting back to that working distance, well, of course it makes sense because, obviously, if you're looking at a farther distance, it's not going to be as straining. But I also think of, an easy way to kind of remember that. I don't know if most people have this issue with their phones. I would think that sometimes if you're too close, if you're trying to take a picture with your smartphone and you know how it just can't seem to focus on whatever it's looking at, and then you have to pull back. And then once you give it an appropriate distance, then you're able to take that picture. And if you think about your eyes working in that same way, I think that's actually going to help me remember that, you know what, if I'm not going to be able to take a picture with my phone, it's going to be fuzzy, I probably should not have my eyes that close as well.
Yeah, very good. Very good observation, Michelle.
You can use that, Dr. Peng.
That's a great analogy. Yeah, I like it.
Well,
yeah.
You can feel free to use it. That's on me. So Dr. Peng, let me ask you, because, and I see from this picture here, you are wearing glasses yourself. So have you always been interested in eye health? What's your personal story in getting involved, becoming an optometrist, and wanting to help people with their eyes?
I always have a really dying question for me to understand is what caused nearsightedness? What's the reason that people develop nearsightedness? I developed nearsightedness at a very young age, at third grade. And every year as I put glasses on, I can see. But again, every year my prescription increased. So, when I grew up, in the college age, I was always interested to know why people have to wear glasses, why nearsightedness, and in particular, why we all have nearsightedness getting worse and worse. And then, I also want to know is, the other thing is I grew up wearing glasses, and I'm never a good sports person. I'm never able to juggle the basketball like my peers, and I was always interested in knowing whether my nearsightedness have anything to do with my sport ability. So that's the two areas of interest I have.
And what did you find? You're leaving me in suspense here.
Actually, we have a lot more information in the past 10 years regarding this area. Nearsightedness in children is because of the fact that we are overutilizing the central vision and ignoring the peripheral vision. It's kind of like a chicken and egg thing.
Wow.
People that do a lot of reading, they always use the central part of the eye. They never expose the peripheral area, like playing sports. So they never develop a good sense of space. They never able to have a good sense of balance. People wear glasses of very poor swappment because they do not have a good sense of space and perceptions of space. So naturally, because of that, they are poor in sport. But why is it happening is because of the glasses itself. When you put the glasses on, I do not know, Michelle, whether you wear glasses, but moment you put the glasses on, it enhances central vision, but actually limited your peripheral vision even further.
Right. Wow. That really is interesting. And it does make sense because you think about, especially, I think of baseball just comes to mind because we're in baseball season, having to look around everywhere. Is he going to steal? Is he going to do this? And as you said, the peripheral vision, that's really, it's quite remarkable. And your story of how you got involved, I think is so interesting as well, that you really, it was personal for you, and now you're able to help so many other people. Dr. Peng,
Right.
Would you be able to stick with us for another 10, 15 minutes? Because I'd love to ask you a few more questions.
Sure.
Wonderful. We're talking with Dr. Albert Peng with Trinity Eye Care. You can go to trinityeyeCare.com is the website if you want to learn more about that. But Dr. Peng giving us some great advice about eye strain, eye stress, things that we can do with diet and just some rules in general to be aware of to help keep our eyes healthy and in check. It is Wellness Wednesday on Middays. We'll have more with Dr. Albert Peng right after this. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Middays on this Wednesday. It is Wellness Wednesday, and what a great topic to talk about. Maybe something that we don't want to talk about necessarily, but it is affecting so many of us when we think about our smartphones, and depending on how old you are, I mean, even kids have phones now. So we're all connected, usually, most of us. I want to say all. There may be a few, you've seen those commercials, like what are the cellular commercials? They're trying to get off of cable or something, and they live like they're back in the 18th century, the 19th century.
Yeah.
Like, we're going off the grid. How many people do you know who are off the grid? I don't know anybody. Mm-hmm. So I wish I could be sometimes, but I've got my smartphone here. I'm looking at the phone while I'm looking at my laptop, and we've got the iPads and we've got these screens all over the place. We're inundated with screens all over, everywhere we go. Going to a restaurant, sometimes there are 10 screens you're looking at, a sports bar. Yeah. There's screens all over the place. So the good news is technology has come very far, and there are glasses. There are things that you can do that you can wear for your eyes that will help ease that strain if you're having some issues. Dr. Albert Pang, our special guest right now, talking about how he was in glasses at an early age, and he was intrigued to find out what was it that was causing nearsightedness. I am nearsighted. I have been wearing glasses since I was in elementary school. Not necessarily regularly, but for the most part, I've been wearing my glasses. And then contacts, and then there's a whole other situation with that where we get very lazy to take my contacts out, and let's not even go there. So then I was off the contacts because I got a few infections. I was the poster child for what not to do with contact lenses.
Oh my goodness.
Because I kept them in way too long. And they make them where you can't sleep with them.
Okay.
But I
with them?
For like weeks.
Really?
Oh, it was
That's
bad.
crazy.
Dr. Albert Pang is going to be like, what are you doing, Michelle?
Is that I take a nap and they're already dry. I have to take them off.
I don't even want to talk about it.
Oh my goodness.
It's because it's just bad. It's just bad. So now I haven't been wearing my contacts. And if I'm driving or if I, am out at night sometimes, I will throw on my glasses. If anybody who's driven with me and like, Michelle didn't wear her glasses when I was with her. Uh-oh, what was she doing? So all kidding aside, once again, this is a very serious issue because we really have to protect our eyes. We've only got our two eyes. Once we lose certain aspects and parts of our eyes and we stress and strain them or maybe even damage them, it really is serious business because nobody wants to lose their sight. There are a few things that we can do to prevent more of the damage that we're doing. And most of us know what it's like to strain or stress our eyes because we're constantly looking at these screens from little ones on up. Especially if you have teenagers, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They're always on their phones. So Dr. Pang giving us some insight as to what's happening with the eye, what parts of the eye are working overtime when we're doing this to our eyes and not giving them the break that they should be receiving, or just abusing them in the way that we're looking at things too closely and they're not equipped to be able to take certain things and factor certain things in when it comes to our eye health. They don't know what's going on. Well, they know. You're forcing it on them, but they're not doing a good job of it because that's not how they were designed. So Dr. Pang is giving us some insight, and we're trying to move things past the bad stuff to find out how we can protect our eyes and how maybe we can make them a little bit better than what they're doing right now. So Dr. Pang is joining us on his lunch break, which you know what, Dr. Pang, I really appreciate you being here. We were talking on the break, and Dr. Pang is nice enough to spend another couple of minutes with us, and he was saying, no, it's fine, I'm on my lunch break, which I can't even tell you how much that means to me that you're losing your lunch, because I love lunch. I'll tell you what, I love my lunch break. So for you to give up a portion of your lunch break, Dr. Pang, I really do appreciate you being here.
You're welcome. Actually, that is part of the, I think, advice that I have to your audience is that actually during the lunch break, we were able to again make a commitment not to use any phone, not to use any devices. Actually, engage in more conversation with your friends.
What's a conversation?
Yeah, that's right.
You mean face to face? That's a wonderful way of looking at it, because for most of us, we have some type of break, whether you're in school and, intern Degeneration as a college student, but you all have those breaks that you can take. And what do? Most of us are, on our phones or trying to catch up. But that really, even if it's a half hour a day or an hour a day, being able to take a little bit of that break in the middle of the day, how much good can come from that, doctor, when we just give our eyes a little bit of rest?
This is actually, it's not a whole lot, but it's kind of like a good start. Yeah. Because, we just have to break the cycle of, device dependent, I say. At my home, we always have area in the house that is what we call device-free zone. You are not allowed to do any texting, using computer or any tablet in a certain area of the house. And that's the time that we usually engage in normal conversation, actually normal, relationship building. And then you can even extend it into your workplace. A certain place like break room or certain area of your office is considered a device-free zone. So going back to normal life instead of being slave to all the devices.
And that is a bigger lesson, I think. Not only are we talking about eyesight here, but I think when you think of just connecting with our families again, which is kind of a lost art in some ways, that is just really beneficial overall, because we always hear about people saying, after years and years of just, working and just being relentless, and that can be very good when you want to push yourself and you want to be successful. But how many times have we wished we took that hour or two or that day off to be able to spend more quality time with our families? So we're getting a double bonus there. We're protecting our eyes a little bit, and we're also getting a little more family time. Something tells me with a device-free zone in your house, Dr. Peng, that you have children, maybe teenagers. Am I right?
That's right. And I was just fed up when we're having dinner, and they're still texting, they're talking to the friends, and there's no communication with them anymore. So that's why we kind of enforce this. And actually, it's a good thing. They start to have a better communication with their parents, and then they have normal communication, like people-to-people communication instead of texting communication.
And the only thing is you have to watch yourself if the adults are to blame, because sometimes I'm the one. Isn't that bad when the adults are like, you know what, I got to check my email. I've got this big important email coming in. So it's a good lesson for adults and children to be able to learn.
It really is a commitment. Really is a commitment with certain part of it. I mean, if you really have to do something important that you have to call, or you have to make a text, or you have to read an email, you have to leave that particular area. This is a commitment that we have to make to the family as well as to your colleague. I really think that, a lot of workplace communication we are lacking now is basically because we really do not like to talk to people anymore. And this is really a part of the side effect, or I would say negative impact of the device era.
I agree completely. So in addition to giving us a little bit of break during several times of the day, you can do this at lunch, at dinner, even having a device. It's easier to see, but that actually can have its effect in the long run on your eyes. 70 to 80%, he suggested. And, try to limit if you can.